Hi, everybody. Glad to have you back with us again. If you have a mother that you loved, or are a mother or a grandmother, this show is for you because we got a great lady. She's not only my neighbor, my friend, she also exercises the same place my wife and I do. But she has put together the Mom's Book, which you see in the corner up here, and it's beautifully wrapped in pink. And what it's going to do is it's going to imbibe you when you read it and imbibe of her wisdom, which we're about to share her. You're going to be able to raise healthy, happy kids that stay radiant, energized, balanced, and youthful. Welcome my neighbor and friend, Candice. Candice, join. There we are. Candice, why did
Hello,
you decide
Mark.
to write the Mom Book? Because you're not only a superstar in business, and we're going to talk about that, you're a great mom and you got great kids, and you're running this solo. Talk about that.
Yeah. So, as moms, there's a lot we have to balance. We are working, we're raising
Press, I can't hear.
children. I really wanted to make can you hear me? I can
Press,
hear
can you hear?
Mark, you can't hear me?
I can't hear.
I don't see Press.
Suddenly you've gone mute on me.
I don't see him or hear him.
Nothing I can do here.
I haven't touched anything. I'm not touching anything.
Candice. This is absurd.
It's okay.
I can see
Technical
you talking, but I
difficulties.
can't hear you. And I assume you can hear me.
I can hear you. You guys are good. Keep going. Okay. Yeah.
Press, can I send you her Vita, and then you get to ask her a question? I'll just sit here and watch for a change.
No, Mark, we can hear you. We can hear you.
I can't hear you either, Press. I don't know what I did.
Oh, wow. That image you sent me is terrible. I look that pixelated. That's awful.
All right. Let's see. All right. Hang on.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can
Press?
hear you. Yeah, can you hear?
Press.
So
I'll
when
step
Mark
out
was
and step
talking, I was
in
watching
if you can
him
hear me
talk.
again.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, he was freezing as he was talking. Did you notice that?
So
Do I still look like I do in the picture you sent me? That looks awful. Why don't we just do Teams? Like,
that doesn't do a live stream. So yeah, we're live streaming. So let's see.
Recording this and saying we're live streaming. So
I need to get Mark. See if Mark can get back here. And we'll all right, here it is. All right, Mark.
Can we start all over again, Press?
Yeah, but he was, did you notice when he was talking, it kept freezing while he was talking? So it wasn't smooth when he was talking, unless that's just how it looks.
Can you hear Mark?
I hear you perfectly this time. Perfect.
All right, yeah, so go ahead. Go ahead. Keep going. All right, take it away. All right.
I am just so excited to have you on our show, Candice. So please tell us why you wrote the Mom Book.
Yeah, absolutely. So the reason I wrote the Mom Book is it's very challenging to be a mother, and not only to raise healthy kids, but also to be a healthy mom yourself. And having raised two of my own kids who are now both in college, I've definitely learned how to navigate not only raising healthy, happy, very polite children with work ethic, but I've also put some tips in my book, lots of tips on being a healthy mom. And so in that book, there's dieting tips, there's exercise tips, there's anti-aging tips, and it's for any budget for people with very little time. So it's really mom hacks for not only raising healthy children, but also being healthy as a mom.
Give the 3 best mom hacks, because there are more single moms out there today than ever in history. And a lot of them are watching this show and going, I read Mark's books and he says he's going to help me. How do I get to be a strong, vigorous mom with great kids that are confident, radiant, and go the distance with me?
Yeah, that's a great question. And there's definitely more than 3. But I think, like everything, it starts with having a healthy mindset and believing that you can be the best mom you can be, believing in your children. And you mentioned the single moms. I am a single mom, and there's also single mom dating tips in there that I think are very relevant since very high divorce rate right now. But I would say number one is healthy mindset. Number two is having motivation and recognizing you're raising humans. And I think a lot of times we let ourselves be bullied by our children who want to tell us what they want to eat. And it's just remembering that you're the parent, you're the one guiding these children to be good humans, to be healthy humans. So that's number two. And then the last one is just taking a little bit of time every day to focus on yourself and also on your children and doing what's best. And like I said, in this book, it's a really easy to read book. And I know as a busy working mom myself, my thought process when writing this book was, how do I get as much packed into as little time as the mom will have to invest as possible? So they're not going to have to read, 500 pages to get to all the hacks. They could probably read the book within an hour or so. If they do it audio, they can listen to it. So there's definitely a lot in there for moms that they'll enjoy.
So your point number two, and obviously we want to go over them, but we've got a lot to cover today. So how do you stay motivated? Because they want to know how to stay motivated, because at the end, they come home from work and they're already exhausted. Now they got to do the laundry, do the dishes, make the dinner, try to get the kids not beating each other up too bad.
Yeah, I mean, motivation, I think, starts with a healthy mindset and setting goals. And when you think about all the things and tasks mom have to do, there's a lot of ways you can make things a little bit easier. Like you mentioned, dinner. One of the ways that I think you can really make things easier from a dinner perspective is meal prep and buying in bulk. And I think a lot of times moms come home and they have to start from scratch. Like, oh gosh, where do I start? I've got to make this whole dinner. But if you meal prep, you can have a lot of things in your refrigerator already ready. So I think that's, one way to address it. But I think in general, the motivation comes from the goal setting and also realizing like, we're not perfect. We're not going to be perfect. So it's finding ways to be as perfect as possible with less free time. And so I think that's a lot of it as well.
Let's break it down by age. When the kids were born, how did you do it? When they were in middle school and going into teen years, which is where they really start to go from dependent to independent. And then hopefully they grow up at 21 to 25 and become interdependent again and start talking to you. But how did you do it at each one of those steps?
Exactly. Yeah, well, one thing that's really wonderful about kids when they're really young, like as young as 2, where they can understand what they can and can't do, understanding what adults are able to do, is kids want to do as much as they can to take care of themselves. So it's really funny because you mentioned, they become adults again and they want to bring you back into their lives. When they're little kids, they want to help. They want to learn. They want to learn how to make their bed. They want to learn how to brush their own teeth. And so teaching your kids that when they're really, really young saves you time as a mom and as a parent in general. The more you can teach your kids at a young age, the more they carry it into their older years, and you can elevate it every year. So I'll take healthy eating as an example. Little kids can be, a little bit stubborn about what they want to eat and what they want to put in their bodies. And so as a young child, maybe a 2-year-old, they might throw a tantrum if you don't let them eat chicken fingers for dinner. And so when they're that young, I think that's when it's important to enforce, like, you're going to eat what I feed you and what I think you should eat. And I use the analogy of if you saw your child going to a hot stove, you grab the child and stop them from burning themselves. So why is it that we as parents at times let our children bully us into feeding them food we know is bad for them? So at a young age, and this is probably going to sound controversial, but you might have to let them miss a meal or two to teach them that lesson. And so at a young age, I think it's important to, number one, not allow them to bully you. And at the same time, you can encourage them to learn about healthy eating by involving them in the shopping. So when you take your kid to the supermarket, rather than letting them, select the foods with the cartoons, you could say, okay, we can either do chicken or fish tonight. Which of these do you want? So when they're that young, they like that you're asking them their opinion. And so you start with getting them involved with selecting the food, because then you take their attention away from all the cartoon labeled food, which is what they're going to want. So I think it starts there. And then the older that they get, you can teach them to read labels. So when my kids were able to read, I would teach them to read the ingredients on like a yogurt. If they said, I want to buy this yogurt, I'd say, well, if the first ingredient's sugar and if it's got more than 10 grams, we're not going to buy it. So my two kids would compete over who could find the yogurt with the least amount of sugar. So then you make it a competition with your kids as they get older. And then as they get a little older, you get them involved with the recipes. So they can look up, they've got recipes on TikTok and Instagram. You get them involved with learning about spices. And, again, the more they're involved, the more you're getting them to make the decision, the better. So I think that's an example of how, as they get older, different ages, how you handle something like eating.
I just want to hitchhike on your grocery store example with one of my own. When my daughter, I had two little daughters at the same time. They're 2 years apart. And when the 3-year-old was sitting on my back in a backpack, we would go to the grocery store and I said, this is an orange. And I'd tell her what an orange is. And that's the color and what it does and all the vitamin C and all the nutrient value. There's a carrot, and it is carrot. It's got beta carotene, but it's also orange. But it's a little bit different in what it does. And then I'd go through all this stuff. I had a woman walk up to me and say, they don't know that. I said, yes, they do. I've studied kids, and 70% of IQ is done by the time they're 4 years old. So what they input through press, they're going to express. So you are one of the great moms. I neglected to mention when we began. I want you to know the mom's book. She is doing stellarly well. Number 1 release in motherhood. Number 2 release in nutrition. Number 6 release in women's health. Number 14 release in personal health. So talk about what makes motherhood work for a single mom.
So as a single mom, you have to use your community and resources. And depending on your income level, if you can afford a babysitter, or if you will take your child to childcare or use after school care, you're going to have to engage help as a single mom. If you have a parent, if the other parent can help, that's great. In some cases they do help, and that definitely takes the load off. In some cases they don't help. But in any event, you definitely need to ensure that you're getting the help you need when you're a working mom, especially. And this is another thing that I kind of start the book off with. Mom guilt is real. And no matter what, when you have children, you're going to always feel like you're not doing everything perfectly and that you're not raising your children perfectly. And I always tell moms, the first thing is get used to that guilt. I work with a lot of young moms that work, and they come to me and they say, how do you do it? I've got this baby at home. I've got this job. I've got goals to reach at my job. I've got this child I'm trying to raise. And I say, okay, the first thing is realize that you've got to be less hard on yourself. You can't be perfect in everything, but you can be the best mom you can possibly be. And just realize that once you have kids, it is a situation where no matter what, as a mom, you're going to feel a little guilty at times that you're either shortchanging your job or shortchanging your child. But if you are able to get to the place where you are able to support your child, you can make them thrive and make them eat healthy while you're also keeping yourself healthy, eating healthy, exercising. There's definitely, that's how you navigate it. And then the other piece is, if you're a single mom, if you're dating, again, you have to be very cognizant of boundaries when you're dating as a single mom. And if you're going to involve your child in your dating world, you have to be really careful. And I really strongly encourage people to keep that part of their life separate as much as they can until you're at a place where you're probably going to marry that person, or you're engaged and you're very certain they're going to be in your life and your children's life for a long time. Because that's another thing as a single mom, if you're going to make time for dating while you're trying to raise your kids and do your job, you have to make sure you balance it in a way that you're not mixing the two together. So in other words, you don't necessarily want your children meeting people you're dating that you're just getting to know. So boundaries are also really important if you're a single mom, and dating gets into the mix as well.
Perfectly said. But let's go to your career for a second. You are a superstar with a Fortune 500 company, and you're an area manager and a vice president. Talk to that a little bit, because you've gone through the ranks, you set the goals, you've achieved them, and you're doing exceedingly well with a great and big company. And I didn't know if I could name the name. Are they allowing us to say who you work with?
Yeah. I've worked for large companies for most of my career, and I've mostly held sales roles. So my whole life has been achieving goals, sales goals. The nice thing about large companies, and I would say most companies in today's day and age, is they have a lot of respect for family time and making sure that moms have what they need. Like, I know the company I work for, they actually allow moms or any parent, if they want to work part-time, because that's what works for them, or if they want to do 3-day a week work week. They also give a lot of time for maternity and paternity leave. So I would say that's a really nice thing about most companies now, is they do give parents the time that they need to bond with their children when they initially have the baby, but they also are respectful if you've got to drive your kids to school. Like, I know all the managers I've worked for, and I know how I operate with my team as well, is they give you that flexibility and they give you that wiggle room that you need to be a mom. And I do address that in the book of how you can talk to your managers if you need a little bit of wiggle room. And there's a way you can talk to them so that you're not forsaking your role at the company. But you're like, you can kind of negotiate, like, I'm going to do these hours, or I'll work, I need these 2 hours in the day to drive my kids to school. And most people will be really respectful of that. But I think in general, any mom, no matter what job they have, navigating the work, raising your kids balance, it just adds another thing to your busy plate. And so, again, this is where I think it's going to be really important that you get people to help you with the aftercare, after school, and just make sure you feel good that they're with the right people, whether it's a neighbor, whether you're sharing time with your neighbor. Like, I know I had friends that were neighbors, and one mom would drive the kids to school in the morning, and then she'd work all day into the night. And then the other mom would pick up the kids after school. So there's, different things you can do as far as that goes.
Good. So you are so fit. How did you stay fit? How do you stay energized? And then how do you stay useful? What are your best anti-aging hacks? Because everyone wants to live long and prosper.
Yeah, agree. Well, one of the anti-aging hacks, which I know Mark and Crystal and your beautiful wife, Crystal, deploy, is working out. I mean, exercise is, I would say, the biggest anti-aging hack. And a lot of us moms don't have a lot of time to exercise, right? But the nice thing is, you don't necessarily need to spend an hour or two in the gym every day to still be healthy. There's a lot of things you can do in 10 minutes or less throughout the day that add to your health, add to your strength. And so one of the things that I do, because I travel quite a bit, so I can't get to my workouts like I can on the weekends, which is usually when I run into Mark at the gym and I can be there for 2 hours. But like, as an example, during the week, I do what I call the 3-minute workout. So in a hotel room, I do as many pushes as I can for the first minute until I can't do anymore. Then I do as many squats with calf raises for another minute, for as long as I can. And then I'll do a plank for another minute. And sometimes I have more than 3 minutes to do that. Like, maybe if I have 10 or 15, I'll just do sets after that. And I'm sweating, and it works out your whole body. It gets your upper body, it gets your core, it gets your legs, it gets your glutes, it gets your calves. 3 minutes, you can get every single muscle group. So that's one example of a hack where being healthy just takes a few minutes. Or if you have 10 minutes, you can do 3 sets of it. So I would say working out is the first one. The second one is skincare and staying out of the sun. So, in Arizona, that's kind of hard for us to do. If you are going to be in the sun, definitely wear sunscreen. But even, skincare is really important, and you don't have to break the bank to have good skin. Skincare. There's great products at Walgreens. Just use whatever works for you, but it's important that you moisturize, you exfoliate, etc. So I'd say skincare is probably like a second anti-aging hack. And then the third one I would say is supplementation. Today's foods, it's really, really hard to get awesome food with the ingredients, and there's pesticides, and there's a lot of our foods today aren't natural. And as a result, you're not necessarily getting all the vitamins that you need, the minerals. And so I really believe in supplementing and taking, vitamins and supplements and herbs. And so that's another anti-aging hack. And there's different supplements that can do different things. Like there's some supplements that help with your skin tone. They help with your vascular system, like CoQ10 is really good. There's a lot of anti-aging supplements that I highly recommend. And there's a lot of them in the book, talk about the different supplements. And again, supplements aren't necessarily going to be that expensive. You can buy them at Costco. You want to make sure you're buying a good brand. But you don't have to break the bank for a lot of these hacks.
First of all, I agree with just everything that you said. I want to go back to exercise just for a second. I, as a man looking at women and women looking at men, as you know, I'm totally fit and Crystal is beyond fit. And most people they think I'm with my daughter rather than my wife because she looks so young. Anyhow, I want to talk to planks. They didn't teach it in gym when I was in school. In other words, I didn't learn how to do a plank until I got a certain age. But a plank, the easiest way is if you're doing a push-up and don't do the push-up and hold it for a minute. And if you can't hold it for a minute, you're in trouble two ways. You're abdominally in trouble, and that probably shows, and your lower back's in trouble. And 90% of people have lower back problems sometime during their life because they don't do planks. So and you do all this in 3 minutes when you're in a hotel room, so that's beyond amazing. But talk about what a plank does and why everyone's got to do it, because I don't want to sell one exercise more than the other. I believe in resistance training. I do it, of course. We also do long hikes on weekends. But talk about just the plank, because it seems to me more people are not doing it because they don't even know that it's for me, it's a mandate. You got to do it for 30 days and then you'll never stop doing it, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So plank, as Mark, you mentioned, just picture doing a push-up before you go down. So you're basically holding yourself up like you're in a push-up. You want to think stiff as a board, like you want your body to be a straight line. You don't want to dip in the middle. You want your body to be perfectly straight. You can also go on your forearms, which at times makes the plank even harder.
Yep.
And so you go in the plank, and there's different variations you can do, which I also talk about in my book, but you can do hip dips, which get kind of the love handles of plank. But what plank basically does, it gets your core and your back muscles. So everything revolves around our core. If you don't have a strong core, you're going to have problems as we get older and age. Upper body strength and leg strength is also extremely important. Not only just in general, but as we age, you've got to keep your strength, you've got to keep muscle tone. And the plank, it definitely works upper body and upper back because you're holding your body weight up. And so, for a woman who's 130 pounds, picture you're holding 130 pounds up, which is like lifting 130 pound weight with two hands. So you just think about how much strength you're building in your back just by holding that position. And the other thing that you're doing is having that strong core. So it affects your posture, which again, that's another thing. You see old people, they tend to slouch sometimes if they don't have good posture. So having that strength, and it helps with your posture, which again helps not only young women, middle-aged women, but older women as well. So you're setting yourself up for success as you get into your, later years, retirement years.
I just want to hitchhike on everything you just said. And I know it's your show rather than mine, and I'm supposed to just ask questions. But when I was a little kid, they said, take good care of yourself. And what her book does, which is magnificent, is teaches you how to take good care of yourself. If you're a young woman, you always want to look healthy. As you're middle-aged, you want to look healthy. As you get older, you can tell the people that haven't taken care of themselves. They look cruddy, feel cruddy, and the big term is scoliosis, where they start to bend over, and then they get a cane, and then they get a walker, and then they get a wheelchair. I don't believe I'm going to be 127th options for renewal. I'm currently 78, so I don't believe anybody should get old, because what she's saying is the hack of exercise, a hack of nutrition. She started with the right hack, by the way, because spiritual language always says mind is all. She said mindset creates life set, body set, future set, and also I teach money set. So how do you simplify your life every day with some practical tips that save time? And the second part is where we're going to go heavy, is reduce stress. And there's three kinds of stress, you all know. There's de-stress, that wrecks you and your body and your mind, and you disintegrate. There's stress day to day. Oh my God, I got to get here. Like before this meeting, you were driving in a stressful situation with a lot of traffic. But then there's stress, stress. Hans Selye, the guy who created all this, positive stress. I live in you stress. I'm smiling all the time. You're smiling all the time. We've decided in favor of ourselves, and that seems to be the hack that you use the most. Am I hitting that correct? That you decide to be happy, so you're happy.
Yeah, the mindset. Yeah. And this is the thing, like some days you just wake up and you feel happier. Some days you wake up, you feel a little stressed because you've got a presentation at work, or you had a fight with your sister the night before, or something wakes you up feeling a little off. And yeah, I think a lot of it, Mark, is what you said, is just making a decision. I'm going to be happy. I'm going to have gratitude for everything in my life, because no matter where anyone is at, you're always better than you even know you are. And it really just takes looking around and just having gratitude. Like, I mean, in the United States, we all have running water. I mean, other countries, they don't have running water. And so one of the mindset things that I like to do, especially if I'm not feeling as happy as I like to feel, is there's a lot of videos online that you can download that teach you gratitude. And it's like a 15-minute mantra. And so what I'll do in the morning a lot is I've got a couple that I love that I listen to. Jason Stevenson is one I love. His voice is just so relaxing. And for 15 minutes, so while I'm getting ready in the morning, I'm, taking a shower, making my protein shake, taking my vitamins, he's playing, and I'm grateful for this. And it just says everything you're grateful for. Or he'll say, I can do anything I set my mind to. So it's just basically mantras, and your brain hears it and your body actually starts to feel it. And there's also these videos that you can get on YouTube that play while you sleep. And so your brain is listening to these words as you sleep. So it's not only sleep music to help relax you go to sleep, but it also talks about everything you should be grateful for, or how amazing you are. And you can do anything you put your mind to. And I am smart. I am beautiful. And I know it sounds maybe a little corny, but it really, really works. And so that's like a hack I do for, your mindset question, Mark. But I do think it is all about mindset and belief. And there's a saying, whether you believe you can or can't, you're right. So it's all about belief. And I think all of us have seen many people that have overcome adversity because they believe they could. And it really is about that.
By the way, everybody, I want you to get 2 of these books, one for yourself and one for some woman that you want to take care of, especially a young mom who's probably, forgive me for saying it, but early divorced, because 52% of people in America do get divorced. So that means there's a lot of women out there wandering around, and they don't have a thought, they don't have a clue, they have not been taught well by their mother, and it's a generational curse. And we're at the first time in history where we can break all the generational curses by thinking right, talking right, eating right, exercising right, living right, to get the right results right here and right now. So give one more hack as we tighten this up today. What is the best hack that everybody can go implement tomorrow, Candice?
Wow, that's a hard one. There's so many. Well, the mindset one for sure. The mantras, I think for sure. I would say if we're gonna lead it to health and exercise, I would say start doing the 3-minute workout every day if you're not already on a workout regimen. If you're one of those people that just doesn't believe they have time to exercise, or they used to exercise, but now that they've become a mom, they've stopped because they can't find the time, do a 3-minute workout. do as many push-ups as you can for 1 minute, do the squats and calf lifts, as many as you can for a minute, and then go do the plank, which is basically the beginning of the push-up. And if you want, you can start with the plank, and then you go into the push-ups, and then you stand up and do the rest of the workout. But I would say that's a really good way to start feeling strong, feeling energetic, and taking care of yourself. Like, the first thing you can do is the mindset videos that you can find anywhere on YouTube. But then if you add a 3-minute workout on top of that, and you can do all that in your first 20 minutes of the day. You can do it while you're brushing your teeth. You can do it while you're styling your hair, putting your makeup on. It's really easy to squeeze those two things in. And I promise you're going to feel better about yourself from a mindset perspective. And you're going to start to notice like the strength you feel when you're doing the push-ups. It'll also make your face flush a little bit. So your makeup might go on a little bit better. You might have a little pink glow while you're putting your makeup on. So I would say do those two things to start.
First of all, I'm very thankful. The other way to do it, ladies and gentlemen, she's giving you the first thing in the morning, which is always great, and be absolutely grateful. The more you're grateful for, the more you get to be grateful for. But the other way, a lot of you do watch TV and you say, I'm just going to sit down and be exhausted. Well, before you sit down and be exhausted, do the push-ups, do the squats, do the calf raises, and just decide in favor of yourself. Because remember, when you feel good about you and look good, you're going to go do good. You're going to be better to your kids, better to yourself, better to the person that you're dating if you're single, or better to your spouse if you're spousally oriented. Candice Imwalle, thank you. Thank you.
And you're also
wonders. Go ahead. Your last statement.
I was just going to say, and you're also setting an awesome example for your children of what health looks like and what taking care of yourself looks like.
I didn't mean to walk on you, but I was saying, have them do the exercises with you. Even if they're 3 years old, they would love to try to do planks. They would love to try to do push-ups, even if it's push-ups on their knees.
Oh,
like girls push-ups.
Planks for everyone. We can do plank competitions. See if you can outplank your 3-year-old.
There you go. Or get really good. In the old days, I used to have them get on my back when I was doing my push-ups. They thought, that's so cute, Dad. Look at him. He gets tired when he has me in his back.
Even better.
Thank you for being on our show. Everybody out there has gotten great benefit from it. Ladies and gentlemen, go out and buy the Mom's book, and you're going to put smiles on yourself as a mom and other moms and grandmoms that you don't even think about. It'll be one of the best gift books that you've ever given. Thank you, Candice.